Hey guys, it's Hannah and this is Bookworms Talk. And today we're going to talk about Never Too Far by Abbi Glines, the sequel to Fallen Too Far. I'm going to go ahead and start this off by saying, I know what you guys mean about Rush now. In Fallen Too Far, I was like, okay, this book kind of made me into a swoony loony, not gonna lie. I'm going to jump into a summary straight off. If you haven't read the first one, you shouldn't watch this. So Blair's pregnant. What did I say called it? Or it could be because I read Twisted Perfection and kind of knew that already. Maybe. So Blair is still in Summit, and Kane tries so hard to be what he thinks Blair would need, but it's just not his place. He offers to marry her. He says, I love you that much, but the thing is, he did cheat on her in the past, and he's nobody's savior. Kane tries to be this good guy, and he goes down to Roseberry to confront Rush, and not to necessarily tell him that Blair's pregnant, but to kind of ask if he screwed her. And she doesn't exactly go about that the best possible way, and Rush hits him. And that is what gets Blair to go down to Rosemary to take Kane back to Summit. And under quite a few circumstances, she ends up staying, though it is temporary. She plans on staying for 4 months just to get enough money to where she'll tell Rush that the baby's his and then split. And Rush knows that she's only staying temporarily, and he just thinks it's until she can get money to just move on. He hasn't put the pieces together yet. And so he has to convince her to stay, and he has 4 months to do so. And that is all the summary I'm going to give you because I don't want to give too much away, and I'm going to jump into the spoilers section now, so when you read this, come back and watch. The day has arrived, the day that Rush finally put that brat Nan in her place. I was cheering at my book like I was watching a baseball game. I love Grant. I mean, really, this guy. He's like, he doesn't smile, he's just hollow, and then he tries to explain the relationship that Nan and Rush have and how Nan has basically been his kid. He has just watched over her and been the parent that her parents never were to her. And he says that if she had stayed a little bit longer, Rush would have told her everything. Grant says to Blair, he was falling for this girl he had always thought had been the reason his sister was without a dad. His belief system was changing, but it was hard for him to work through it too. And that's stuff that we do already know from Fallen Too Far, but I love that Grant took that time to say it to Blair, because I think she needed to hear it. And after Grant saying that, Blair has this inner thought process that basically said, it doesn't matter if he was going to tell me, because it didn't change who he was and who Nan was, and that the last 3 years of her mother's life was just a living hell while they lived in their fancy houses. It's what they represented to her that is what she couldn't get over. So apparently Woods is psychic, or, it's just obvious, and he put the pieces together because he's a smart cookie that first day on her job back and she got sick. And anyway, Woods says, it isn't my story to tell when she asked him to keep the secret about her pregnancy. And I'm just like, thank you, because you know what? The entire last book, everyone was saying, it's not my story to tell, it's not my story to tell, and I'm glad it actually transferred over. So Blair still loves and she misses Rush, and she's forgiven him for the secrets that he's kept from her. But forgiving is not the same thing as forgetting. It doesn't make what he did go away. I was going to lose one of them. I loved my sister, but over time she'd forgive me. I could lose Blair forever. I wasn't going to allow that to happen. That day at the country club when Rush was having lunch with Meg, and then Blair saw it, and she just tries to not make a scene about it, and she runs into Woods, and Woods tries to protect her, and then Rush sees her and follows her in there, and then Blair bursts out that she's pregnant. And it was one of those double take moments. Like, I just read that. Yeah. There were quite a few moments in which I realized the Rush you guys were talking about so highly, and I understood the hype, and I'm going to read you a couple points that was key in really helping me see what you guys saw so clearly. My chest hurt. She'd been sick alone. I left her alone and she'd been suffering. Air wasn't getting to my lungs, and it was just that he hurt for that. My family will accept what I tell them to accept. If they don't, I will take you and my baby and leave them to pay their own damn bills. No one comes before you. That is when I saw the Rush that everyone was talking about. And it was a positive slope hill from this point on. You understand my really not right analogy here. I think this was a really important paragraph that helped us understand Blair's motivations and why she felt the way she felt. Even though it's Rush thinking this of her, Blair being Blair would never think, poor me. And so I think it was a great place for Rush to be the one that realizes this. She'd lost everyone in her life she'd loved and trusted. Why should she believe me? The only men in her life left her, betrayed her. She expected nothing else. I didn't remember so clearly that Rush was very, I protect what's mine caveman kind of way. I kind of didn't remember that so fully, and I completely got that in this. And then when he realized that Woods had taken her to one of her appointments, he was like, it was no wonder Woods had been taking care of her. I'd failed. I wasn't going to fail her again. And I was just like a swoony loony. Like, he was just being really caring and, in his weird possessive way, sweet. So Nan was having lunch with Rush at the country club, and then she said this: I wanted to strangle her bratty little throat, okay? I can't believe you would just get up during our lunch and go stake your claim on some cheap whore. I am never going to feel bad for her. I don't care how bad this gets. I actually know how bad this gets because I'm halfway through Forever Too Far, and I still don't feel bad for her. I really, really, really do not like her. I love Bethy. When she said, don't let him grovel, he needs to. Fuck, I need him to. I love that she was very hesitant towards Rush after he fucked up a couple times, because I do think Blair forgives very easily, and I can't really talk because I pretty much forgave him quite easily too. I couldn't stay mad at him for more than like a chapter in this book. I really couldn't. That whole you need a new bra scene was just so... It was just another example of Rush showing that he does care for her, and that it actually upset him, not just bothered him. Like, he was upset by it. Just swoony loony over here, I'm telling you. And I never realized that they hadn't actually gone out on dates. It just whoosh over my head there. But then we were presented with that they never actually did, and Blair kind of felt like maybe he didn't want to be seen with her. And he's just like, I'll be taking you on so many damn dates that there won't be a person in this town that doesn't know I worship the ground you walk on. I mean, come on. That is sweet. So Blair had his doctor's appointment, and she calls Rush, and he's just like, I can't talk, I'll call you back. And so he doesn't call back for a while, and she really does need to leave, and so she calls one more time, and Nan answers. And she said, unbelievable. He told you he'd call you back. Why don't you just give him some breathing room? Rush doesn't do needy. He's visiting with his family. My mom and dad are here, and we're getting ready to go have a family lunch. I fucking despise her with all of my being. I loathe her. I mean, that makes Blair think that, okay, his family comes before her and the baby. You don't need to plant many seeds of doubt in Blair's head. She already has them there. And this just, I hate her. I hate her so much. But then we see from Rush's perspective, the entire reason he was there was to tell his mother that she was no longer going to be staying in that house. He wasn't going to pay for her to be there. And then he was telling them that he was planning on marrying Blair. And that just pissed everyone the fuck off, as you can imagine. And then he goes to Blair and he tells her this, and he's apologizing because he didn't realize the day that it was and that he missed the appointment, and he feels like shit. And in order to explain himself, he has to say that he wants to marry her. And then he proposes on the beach, and he has this whole really romantic spiel, and it's just really sweet. So they get the phone call, and he says, my sister is in ICU. She's unresponsive. Is it bad that I don't feel bad at all? So Rush leaves Blair in like this mad rage, and she's thinking that I'm the reason that there's this rift between Nan and him. And she feels really guilty for all of it, and she feels like it's all her fault. So Grant says to Rush, sure to want my niece or nephew having the last name Carrington because Woods has been taking care of her. And the thing is, Rush really did need that wake-up call because he hasn't contacted Blair in the entire week that he's been with Nan in the hospital. Just nothing at all. And he has this little bullshit reason about if I call, then she may not wake up, because whatever, I understand it. I think it's bullshit, but I understand it. I am just really glad that Grant told him that, because he just wasn't getting it. When we found out that Nan wasn't Abe's daughter, what the fuck am I reading? It doesn't stop there. As a child, Rush knew Blair's mom, Becca, and they talked about how Becca used to make Rush these Mickey Mouse pancakes, and she just felt like it wasn't a good environment for a child that young to be around a bunch of these rock stars. And then his mother, and then Georgiana's just not even mother figure. She's not even mother material, and so she wanted to take care of him. And then when she was finally when she was forced away by Georgiana, she just felt so awful that she was just leaving this little boy like that because she felt like he wasn't going to be taken care of. Oh yeah, and you know how I said it didn't stop there? It still doesn't. You know who's her father? Cairo, the other member of Slapper Demon. Just everything I thought I knew. And so then when Abe is telling Rush this stuff, he says, no man can be around Blair and not love her. I wanted someone strong and capable of taking care of her, so I sent her to you. I mean, that is just the biggest knot in the story that is just tied perfectly in this pretty little bow, and I was always thinking, why did he send her to Rosemary if he knew he wasn't going to be there? Is he just like a bad person? We're led to sympathize for the guy in this book, and so I thought, how is that going to be tied up? Because that's kind of almost unforgivable to me, you know? And that is why Holy crap. So Abe went to Blair and he told her everything that he had told Rush, but he even continued in that. He said, I already made you suffer so much alone. I sent you to Rush. He wasn't exactly the kind of guy a man wants his daughter around, but I knew he'd see in you what I saw in Becca, a lifeline, a reason to live, a reason to fight, a reason to change. He was strong. He could protect you, and I knew if pushed he would. And he apologized for not being there when her mother got sick, because he said he just couldn't imagine seeing his Becca sick and dying like that. And he said he knew he was selfish and he wasn't a man about it, and he should have been there. And he says, you're my little girl. You deserve the best in the world, and I'm not the best. I'm walking away. I'm not going to bother you ever again. And she forgives him, and she doesn't want him to be alone, because that's not what her mother would have wanted, and that's not what Val would have wanted. And they hugged. Blair cried for him because he wasn't strong enough, and she just cried because it was time to cry. At the end, when they found out the sex of the baby in Rush, he's just like, I'm gonna have a son. Fuck, I was almost gonna cry. This book beat Fallen Too Far with a landslide of holy shit. I am halfway through Forever Too Far. I started it last night at like 11. Then I stopped reading sometime around 6 in the morning because I woke up to get a drink of water, and it somehow turned into like an hour reading marathon for me. And holy crap. And then today, the shit that happens in Forever Too Far, you guys, I could not stop. I couldn't stop. I'm not going to get into that book though. I want to know your thoughts on Never Too Far. Drop all of that stuff in the comments, and I will see you guys later next time on Bookworms Talk, where I will be talking about Forever Too Far. And then right after that, because I've been currently reading this, Just Human by Carrie Heavens, I will link that down there in the description. She's a UK author. It's her debut novel, and it's really, really good, and I'm about halfway through that. I'll have a video on that up in August. So until then, I'll see you guys later. Bye!